Hi everyone, how you doing? We've got another voiceover this week. I actually filmed this video last weekend. If you want to know where we are, we're in Wall Street, or on Wall Street, which is in Chadderton. On the right there is Whitstable Close, and on the left is Crossley Estate. Crossley's changed a vast amount over the last few years. They've knocked quite a lot of buildings down that look fairly modern. But then rebuilt similar looking ones. It's a bit of an odd situation. But yeah, Whitstable Close is somewhere where I actually grew up, and just down the road there is a pub called the Crown Inn. Now the reason why we're here is I wanted to sort of show you around the area. I'm talking about Whitstable there and what have you. The reason why I've done a voiceover is because I was struggling with continuity in this video, to be honest with you. I wanted to tell the story of Lilian Robinson. So Lilian was a young woman who died back in 1928 at the hands of her ex-boyfriend, ex-fiance. It's a bit of a sad story, really, and I just thought that I'd tell you the story as well as show you the area. But I'm going to swing round in a minute and got a fella there, bloody hell, around about here, and I think across the road there where that tree is. So this is Wall Street, and I think the house that you're looking at there is 21 that we've just gone past. So over here, where them trees would have been, where I'm pointing, jumping around a bit with his camera, that's where Lilian would have lived. Now, she lived there with her mother and her father. Her father was a wood turner. I think he was called Charles. And the mother was called Sarah Elizabeth. Although she didn't use the name Sarah, she only went by Elizabeth for some reason. I don't know. Maybe she just preferred it. But anyhow, Lilian, she was 18. She worked at Stockfield Mill, which is, we see it shortly when we go to Sydney's house, the bloke who took her life. But she was beautiful, apparently. 18-year-old. She'd been working in Stockfield since she was about 14. She had a lot of friends. A lot, people liked her. And basically, she got in this relationship with Sydney, and he was a bit older. I think he was 21 at the time, so he was a few years older. But he was besotted with her. And a couple of years prior to killing her, or say a year prior, I don't know, there wasn't a limit on the time, but a time before he killed her, he actually went to her father and said, up at the house there, and said, can I have Lilian's hand in marriage? And the father went, well, you're still only 21 and you've not got an house and you only just started out in your career. Now he worked, I think he worked at Mill as well, but he had like a bit more of a senior position. Anyhow, he said, I'm saying no for now, but I'm not saying no forever. I know Lilian likes you, but, you can only have my daughter's hand in marriage once you've proven to me, that you're able to provide for her. So apparently the report said for the father, he said, I wasn't, I didn't think too much of it. He seemed to take it quite well. He seemed to understand my reasoning. And it wasn't a closed chapter. I just wanted to show you these flats. That's why I'm walking down here. These flats have been here, I'm going to say, since 60s. A few years, let's put it that way. They painted them a few years back, and they just look tight again now. But it's similar to them ones that got knocked down on West Street. I have got a video on them before I got the knocked down if you're interested. It's on channel. But this is Stockfield Mount. It's all Stockfield round here. You've got Stockfield Mill, Stockfield Road, Stockfield bloody Mount. Sorry about that, everyone. But anyhow, the father said he didn't seem to take it badly at all, and the answer wasn't no forever, but it was no for now. Anyhow, Sydney decided, and Lilian too, they decided, well, we don't really want that outcome. We want to get married. So anyway, they devised this plan, and what they did, they put the banns in at St Matthew's Church on Burnley Lane, and another church which name escapes me, to be honest, for the moment. But anyway, I think the reason why they put the banns in at two churches was because they were going to get married without permission. And I think one of the things that they were probably looking to do, we're going to switch now to this is near Stockfield Mill, actually near Sydney's house. We'll take a look at it in a minute. But yeah, apparently what happened were they'd put the banns in, they were going to get married, and it was the 28th of November 1928. Anyhow, all this secret planning were going on. And the night before, Lilian decided that she couldn't go ahead with it. And she actually said to Sydney, look, I can't marry you, I can't do it. You know, my dad's forbidden me to do it and I can't do it. So she called off the wedding and she actually called off the relationship. Anyhow, he was absolutely devastated. And we're going to have a look at his house now, actually. Let's just switch over and I'll show you where he would have lived. The house still isn't standing anymore. But you see the corner. So this is, I think it's called, I can't remember the name of the street. Stockmount, is it? I can't remember. I'll put the name in. You see where that power station is there? That is where his house would have stood. I think his house was 77. Stock Lane, that's it. Or Stockfield Lane, I don't know. I'll put it in. Anyhow, these houses would have continued. You've got the power station there. Before the power station, I think you had like some sort of industrial yard there for many years. But anyhow, this is where he lived. And on the morning or the afternoon of the 28th of February, he set off, I assume, walking to Lilian's house, which is just around the corner. I'll be putting an arrow in there to show you where it is. But he set off and so did Lilian. So Lilian set off. She said she was going down to her mates in Chadderton. Apparently the day was very, very rainy. The weather wasn't good. She had an umbrella and she was on foot. She was on Shanks's, if you know what Shanks's is. That's what she was on. Anyhow, as many people would have been them days, not a lot of people could afford cars. But Sydney set off from his house in this direction that I'm walking in now. That's the mill on the left-hand side. I'm just talking about that old building up there at the top, which is quite old. But this is where both of them work. She was a tenter, which is she worked in card room, and apparently it's all about stretching the material out. But anyhow, let me get to the point. So he set off walking in this direction. She set off walking in the other direction, past the Crown, and then did a left down the road. We actually have a look at her route in a minute. And he set off about, he was besides himself. He was trying to talk around. He couldn't believe it was Stock Lane, that's it, or Stockfield, I don't know. Anyway, he was trying to talk around, and apparently she was having absolutely none of it. His sister knew, he was devastated. People were concerned for him. He wasn't acting right. It was just a strange scenario. So what he'd done the day before is he'd gone to an hardware shop. I don't know where the hardware shop was, obviously somewhere in Chadderton. And he bought a knife. And the knife was apparently about 6 inches long. But it wasn't unusual. When he was eventually caught, that he murdered her. But when he eventually sort of not caught, because you'll hear what happens to them both. But when it was originally found out that it was him, the policeman from Chadderton Station went to ask the question, why did you sell this young kid a knife? And the fellow went, well, it's not unusual. So he didn't ring any bells, he sold him knife and that writ. But the point is, he bought the knife the day before, so Sydney absolutely knew exactly what he was going to go and do. And he were basically going to end it, So yeah, anyhow, we're just going back to the car now. We're going to set off shortly and we're going to show where Lilian was walking. So this here is just, if you look at the top there, she would have turned left off Wall Street and she would have walked all the way around here. Now you can see Stockfield Mill there in the distance from where we've just been, if I actually stop spinning the camera around. But yeah, she set off walking down, and when she got about halfway down this road, she came face to face with Sydney. Now she had no intention of doing. Maybe she could have gone a different way. Maybe she could have gone through Crossley Estate or what would have been there at the time and cut across the field and avoided him, but she didn't do. Did she want to bump into him? Maybe she did. She certainly wasn't aware of what were going to be going on. But yeah, she set off walking down here. It was a very windy, cold day, as I said, February, and they met halfway down the road. And basically what happened is Sydney, they must have had a row of something, and Sydney basically brought the knife out and he plunged it into her chest. And then once she slumped to the floor, he stabbed her twice more in the back. And then what he did is he just fled the scene It weren't that late, you know. I think it was about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. But if you think about it, in February you've got those dark nights, haven't you? So this area then, it wasn't built up as far as I can see off what evidence I've got. There was a few houses dotted about, but ultimately it was a quiet area. So what's happened is she's collapsed on the floor. He's ran off, done whatever he's done, and he's what's-him-a-jigged. So I'm trying to work out. So yeah, so he basically killed her and that rate, and he ran off. Anyhow, we're just going to get to the point now where a body were found, and I'll just tell you what happened at the end. So we're just by Yellowway Coaches in Chedderton. You've got the mill there in the background that you can see. Now, just about on the right hand side where those shutters were, or between the length of that fence and the end of that building, it's somewhere around here that she were found. The policeman found her next morning about 8 o'clock in the morning. She was dead, obviously, poor thing. And what had happened was, how it all came about, where her brother came home at night looking for her, and sister and brother said, Lilian's not come home. So they set off looking for her, couldn't find her. Next morning, went to the police station, told them what was going on. Police ended up going to his sister's house, and sister says, he's in hospital, he's took poison. So they put two and two together and thought, hang on a minute, something's not right here. Anyway, that's when they found Lilian's body, and they found it in this vicinity. She was long dead. And Sydney had been taken up to Oldham Hospital. I don't know what poison it were, but let's just say he didn't come out of the hospital. He died while he was in there, and he died on the same day that Lilian did, on the 28th of February, sometime in the evening. And it's just a sad story. One thing I'm going to show you though is we're going to go to the site of where both Lilian and he are buried. I'll tell you beforehand, I wasn't able to find any headstones, but I'm just going to show you the vicinity, and it's actually quite creepy to see that they're literally only a few hundred metres apart. There's a field full of crows. I'm going to count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And then there's some magpies as well. Look at them all. Right, everyone, we're in my favourite place, Chaddy Cemetery. Right, this is unusual as well. I don't know if this camera's picking it up. Do you see over there, them gravestones, there's a seagull plonked on more or less every gravestone on that bit there. I'm going to keep walking towards, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, see how close we can get. They're massive as well. They're not like little seagulls. You know, them little white ones you get, these are big as these. Like you get at the seaside. What the hell are they doing in here? I'm going to try and go as close as I can. Look, don't start picking my eyeballs. Actually, that'd be funny, that, wouldn't it, if they all decided to attack me? You know what I'm like? I think this is where they all sit, because... Can you see them all? This looks to be where they always sit, because these gravestones are right bloody mess with them. Anyhow, let's get back to the video. Sound like I'm by the bleeding seaside, everybody, that friggin' bird. Right, so we're in the right area for the next bit. Look at that square crossly. Right, everybody, so this is where Lilian ended up. Somewhere in this area. Her grave is number 50 in this particular area. This is number 62. I'm guessing, which I thought might be a possibility, that she's, I don't know, she could even be here in front. Just been informed, someone who's fairly knowledgeable in grave design, that she could be here in front, and obviously if she's got an unmarked grave, that would account for it. Anyway, we're going to go and find Sydney now, because believe it or not, and this is a shocking thing, Sid is buried a short walk away over there. So let's go and see if we can find him. So everybody, this is where Sydney is buried, somewhere around here. He was put into the grave on the 3rd of March 1928. I think it was a day after Lilian was buried. There doesn't seem to be a grave marker for him that I can find either, unfortunately. But this is where he rests, and just to give you an idea where Lilian is. Just below my finger as far as you can see. That's the area. ND, I think it is. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I'm going to go to the church now and do the cemetery. See who we can find in there, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.